All right, with us now is Tony Khan, President and CEO of AEW. The first question will be from Chris Bueller of Bleacher Report.
Hey, Chris.
Hi, Tony. Great pay-per-view tonight. I was wondering if you could give us a status update on Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega, their condition after the match, how everything went.
Both guys are great. Honestly, I'm glad neither guy came out with a serious injury because it was a really scary match, and they both really put their health at risk for a huge pay-per-view main event. I think it was awesome. It was a great spectacle, and I think we're all lucky that the bomb going off at the end didn't really hurt anybody. That Kenny's big master plan that he built a dud, which I think who would have thought when he drew up the big plan with crayons that maybe the bomb might not fail to take both guys out. So I thought that for the battle it really delivered excellent action. Both guys came out okay, which is great because on paper it looked like the kind of match where somebody could get hurt.
Thanks, Tony. Up next is Sean Lalos of CBR, followed by Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated.
Congrats on the great pay-per-view again tonight, Tony.
Thanks, man.
Darby Allin earlier talked about, he said he put in about 90% of the work when it came to producing and getting his match done. He's an independent filmmaker and a wrestler. Talk a little bit about what he brings to the product when it comes to producing, directing, and putting together all these incredible promos and vignettes that he puts together for you guys.
I'm really glad you asked. Darby's a really great, gifted young filmmaker, and I'm so glad that you used that term to describe him, because that's the term I use to describe Darby also. He's a great filmmaker, and working with him on this was a pleasure, and that's accurate. He did do 90%. I mean, Darby really was effectively like co-directing this, and we had a vision for it. This story I've been working on with him going back almost a year now with Taz, and we've had plans for a long time to bring Sting into it and do this match, and it all paid off in a really spectacular way, and everybody put their body into it. I can't say enough about the effort everyone gave, and particularly Sting coming back from such a long layoff. It was awesome, and as a filmmaker, Darby envisioned a great spectacle and organized all these shots, and every time we called cut, he was right there making sure we did it right. And there were times where it involved him doing something insane to do it a second time, and he was that willing to do it because he's so passionate about it. He's very, very gifted filmmaker indeed, and he's also a great wrestler and really, really, really important person to this company.
Thanks, Tony. The next question will be Justin Barrasso from Sports Illustrated, followed by Stephanie Chase of Digital Spy.
Hey, Justin.
Justin, you're muted.
Okay, thank you. Tony, I'll figure that out eventually. Two questions. First, is there a way to turn around that explosion? I'm not saying this is how you do it, but maybe by explaining Kingston's friends are backstage.
I mean, no, we're posting now what's going on with the explosion on social media. Have you seen, Justin, the promo that John did at the live event that some of the live fans have posted, but then we're posting it now. It's uploading from like the TV copy. I don't know if you saw what John said after the event.
I didn't. I haven't yet.
Okay. Then, all right. So to quote John, or at least paraphrase, if not word for word, Kenny Omega might be a bad son of a bitch, but he can't build an exploding ring worth of shit. Kenny, the plans for this we saw in Crayon, and all through the match we saw, it looked very cool, and it's a very deadly, painful match. But at the end, I mean, I don't know what people really want. Unless you wanted us to actually explode the guys at the end, there's only so much you can do. So without actually blowing the ring and both guys up, I think the basic explanation is that Kenny's ring set to explode. His plan, as a heel who built this thing with a hammer and nails, as we saw, that the final bomb just didn't go off.
And thank you for touching on that. My second question is always an unknown, Tony, when you put the title on someone. But can you touch on how Shida has exceeded expectations as champion? I thought she was sensational tonight.
She was excellent in that match, and she's had a great history with Mizunami, going back to the beginning of AEW, going back almost 2 years to the very first AEW event, Double or Nothing. And they had an excellent match. Mizunami had several great performances through the Eliminator tournament, And Sheeta's been a great champion for us through the pandemic. She's had so many great matches, great main events on Dynamite, and great pay-per-view matches. I think she is a great champion and has been one of our most consistent wrestlers over the past year.
Thanks, Tony. Up next is Stephanie Chase of Digital Spy, followed by Connor Casey of Comic Book.
Hi, Tony. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm great, thanks, Tony. Congrats on a great show. Congrats also on Fulham winning today against Liverpool. So big day for you.
It's twice. It's only the second time in 146 years, I believe. Since 1870. So it's a long history at Fulham, and I think it's only the second time we've won at Liverpool. So it's pretty great.
Yeah, you're great. I was wondering about the barbed wire death match. If you could tell us a bit about the construction of it, and obviously you took a lot of influence from Onita, especially his match with Funk, but what tweaks, if any, did you make to make this match to showcase it on as big a stage as AEW? Because we haven't seen it done in that kind of mainstream way before. And a quick second question, it was great to see Maki Itoh in the buy-in. How much more can we expect to see of her in AEW?
Maki Itoh is tremendous. I hope to see her here often, and we'll definitely see her Wednesday night live on Dynamite in this 6-woman tag. She'll be teaming with Britt Baker. Reba Rebel, Britt's assistant, is slated for the match, but already I'm hearing that she's trying to get out of the match, so it'll be interesting to see if she's able to participate. But we've got a great opponents lined up for them with Thunder Rosa, Shida, and Mizunami. So Maki Itoh is going to be involved in AEW this week on Dynamite. I'm very excited for that. And then that is your question about Maki Itoh. And what was your first question?
Yeah.
That was the second question.
That was my second question, yeah. So my first one was just about like tweaking the construction of how a barbed wire death match looks for the stage as big as AEW's.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Onita Funk match, everybody would watch that. And I think several barbed wire matches to get a feel for it. And we did a lot of tests and safety precautions with the fire marshal. And I think the story kind of gave us an out for the ring not completely exploding and killing both guys, because again, it was Kenny's construction, this thing he built to be the Moxley extermination chamber, and you saw him kind of build it crudely with a hammer, and it looked like a great plan. And to be fair, it worked all through the match. And Kenny's such a great wrestler. He survived it, and he got to the finish, and he was in trouble. The Good Brothers came out to help him. So there was a story there. The construction of it was such that we're using barbed wire and had to take a lot of precautions and treat it with great care. And we had to do a lot of rehearsals of the explosions. But again, there's only so much you can really do with explosions without really hurting people. So I think that's why it was good to give us an out with a story when we didn't actually explode the ring, that maybe Kenny's craftsmanship as a bomb builder is not his forte. Maybe we should stick to wrestling.
Thanks, Tony. Up next is Connor Casey of Comic Book, followed by John Alba of Spectrum Sports.
Hey, Tony, can you hear me?
Yeah, hey.
Hey, how's it going? Tonight we saw the arrival of Christian Cage. I know it was a big shock for a lot of people, especially considering where the last time we saw him pretty recently. What were the conversations like between you two, and how did this whole thing come about, bringing him in?
He's been a friend of mine for a long time. I met Christian Cage 7 years ago, and he's a great person. I mean, I've always really liked him as a person, but long before that, I've been a huge fan of him as a wrestler. I think he's one of the great wrestlers of the last couple decades. He's had great matches in different companies. He's been a great singles wrestler, a great tag champion, and I think he adds a lot here. He's one of the best minds in wrestling, and he's in great physical condition. And we saw him very recently compete on pay-per-view, and there was a lot of interest in it. It generated a lot of interest, and he was interested in wrestling on a regular basis. And, he gave me a call and said, I'd really like to come wrestle in AEW for you. And I said, I'd really like to have you come wrestle in AEW for me. That sounds awesome. And it all came together great. And I think it's going to be really good.
The next question is from John Alba of Spectrum Sports, followed by Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer.
Tony, appreciate your time as always.
Sure.
Hope everything's going well on your end. Tonight, you saw a pretty big crowd there at Daly's place, and it certainly added to the element of the atmosphere of the show. And you guys also announced that Double or Nothing will be in Jacksonville at the end of May. So I want to know, with the extra amount of people that we saw tonight, what is AEW's plan as you try to ride out the end of the pandemic here, hopefully throughout the rest of 2021, in terms of either getting back on the road or staying in Jacksonville?
I think we're going to take it, every few months at a time. Right now, I can't say it's immediately where we want to rush out and pack arenas indoors, but I think doing outdoor shows, we've had great success. There have been throughout, I think, 7 months now of running, maybe 8 months of running AEW events now with live crowds, outdoors, socially distanced, fans wearing masks. There have been 0 known transmissions. AEW and the Jaguars here in Jacksonville, we've been running these events outdoors at, roughly 20 to 25% capacity since last summer. And we've had 0 transmissions here, outdoor events. And I think there's something to that. I know that doctors have said there's 99% less risk of transmission outdoors than indoors. I personally attended. Now, at AEW and the Jaguars, I'm working, so I'm running around. I don't necessarily sit out in the seats with the spectators ever and get to feel that experience. At the Super Bowl and at the College Football National Championship game with Alabama versus Ohio State, I did sit out in the crowd at both games in a pod and get to experience that. And I felt like it was a very safe experience. There was nobody anywhere near my pod, just like here tonight for the fans, other than myself and my group. And it was outdoors. And I thought what I felt is good right now with everything going on about being inside in the same environment. Probably not. I think this is very safe. And again, with 0 known transmissions in thousands and thousands of ticket holders across now, I guess, literally dozens of shows that we've done. I think that we should really look at that as, hey, this is working. And what I'd like to do is slowly increase capacity, but not put the pods too close together yet. And as we learn more and more about the spread of the virus, then we can kind of go and make a plan for touring. But right now, for Double or Nothing, I just think it was maybe too soon to plan to pack an arena.
Thanks, Tony. The next question is Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer, followed by Samantha Shipman of Daily DDT.
Great. And by the way, I'll stay and take questions. I'm in no rush to get out of here. So I appreciate everyone ordering the pay-per-view and supporting us. Thanks. Hey, Dave.
Dave, you're muted.
Did that work?
There you
Hey,
go.
yeah. Hi. We got you, Dave.
Okay, cool. I guess first thing is, do you kind of have a time frame for the Young Bucks against Pac and Ray Phoenix?
I think both teams are pretty beat up after the matches tonight. I know that we're gonna get Matt Jackson versus Phoenix, which is going to be amazing. I mean, we saw Nick Jackson versus Phoenix is one of the best matches we've ever had on Dynamite. I think one of the best matches ever on American television. And statistically, I think the fans and you have agreed with that. So I'm really excited for Matt versus Phoenix, and then we'll see where those guys are when we come out of it. But it'll be in the next several weeks. It'll definitely be well before Double or Nothing, and we'll know who the tag team champions are going to be as we are on the road to Double or Nothing now. But I'm really excited for the match, and I'm very excited for Matt Jackson versus Phoenix on Wednesday night. Is that the only question, Dave, or do you have something else?
Oh, okay, sorry. I was just reading for a second, but as far as the signing of Christian and everything, I know that you kind of brought this up and everything. So was this something that just really come up in the last couple of weeks, or is this something that had come up for further back?
No, it came up in the last few weeks. Paul and I had been talking and trying to put together a deal, and as I looked to launch Elevation, that took a little bit more time to come together as we were putting that deal together, and that one I kept a secret a little bit longer. This came together pretty quickly. Christian Cage had just recently returned to the ring and looked incredibly impressive, and I was not aware that he did not have a contract and was going to be interested in wrestling for us. He's a friend of mine, and I didn't know he would be coming here. I really never in a million years would have imagined it. And honestly, I was kicking myself that he wasn't here when I saw him come back. he got a great reaction, and I can't say it enough. I just have so much respect for him, and all the wrestlers here do. This locker room has so much respect for Christian Cage. He's one of the great minds and one of the great wrestlers. So many people here consider him one of their heroes, and it's great that the younger generation is going to get a chance to wrestle with somebody who's known for being one of the best minds, not a selfish person at all, who's looking to share their knowledge with all these young wrestlers, because we have so many great young wrestlers in their 20s. And we're expanding our programming this year, doing more shows with the Dark extension now and Elevation launching, a week from tomorrow, the 15th on YouTube, but also launching another hour on TNT. So we're expanding the roster and having someone awesome, a great headliner like Christian Cage is amazing. And also, again, so many of our main eventers, there's some of them he has great history with, and there's so many main eventers on this card that he can have great dream matches with that people never thought they were going to see. And, I know there's great interest in him because there was great interest in him very recently, just in the last several weeks. So definitely got a chance to gauge the interest in him.
Thanks, Tony. The next question is from Samantha Shipman, followed by AJ of the AJ Awesome Show.
Oh, good. That's great. I'm glad we're getting AJ in. Hey, Samantha.
Hi, Tony. How are you?
Very well. Thank you.
Good. I have two questions, actually. The first question is, after all the hard work we've seen from Red Velvet and some of the things that she's done, when can we expect her to be officially All Elite? Or what else does she have to do to prove that she's All Elite?
She has very little to do. It was coming. It's coming.
Okay. And then my second question is, with everything
Just
that we've
tremendous.
seen...
I can't say enough great things about Red Velvet, by the way. Thanks for bringing it up.
No problem.
Red Velvet is, as I talk about the extension of Dark, one thing I'm really proud of is there's been so many great young wrestlers that have gotten to do more and more and develop themselves. And we've seen a lot of people who started on Dark that have made their way onto Dynamite, made their way into their pay-per-views. And Red Velvet, this past week on Dynamite was in one of the biggest matches we've had on Dynamite, teaming with Cody against Shaq and Jade. She's been awesome for us this year. And Red Velvet, Will Hobbs, both members of the Acclaimed, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, Lee Johnson, so many others who've come up through this pandemic and, working on Dark and made a name for themselves and become really important parts of AEW. So I think it's really cool.
Definitely. Dark has been, a great place to see some really good talent. And I personally would hope to see some more JD Drake.
Yeah, JD Drake's great. Again, we bring in these great wrestlers, and I had a feeling people would react really well to JD Drake. And as soon as JD Drake got here, there was a line out the door to work with him. And I think that's a really good sign. And he's had great matches with Eddie Kingston and Chuck Taylor. So I really like JD Drake. He's doing a great job.
Yes, definitely. So my other question for you is that we've had 2 weeks in a row where the women have had the most watch match. Impact is having women main event. Sheeta has done everything just about in her title reign except main event. So when do we get to see the women main event?
I'm so glad you asked. Very soon. Very soon. It's going to happen. What if I told you it was going to happen incredibly soon, like in the next several weeks? I have a feeling that might happen.
I would be very, very pleased to hear that.
That's awesome. Well, I think there's a good chance.
Great.